thoughts on Anthem? Just me, the game, and times a drink. Drink. Thoughts on Anthem? I haven't really paid much attention to Anthem, to be honest. I mean, when they announced it, I think maybe a couple of years ago, I think they announced it now. It looked pretty cool, you know. It looked pretty cool. I was looking forward to it at the time. Then the whole debacle with Star Wars happened, and I think I was less looking forward to Anthem because I was like, okay, is this the direction EA you're going in? So I was kind of less looking forward to it. But I haven't really paid much attention to the development of Anthem, so I'm not sure how far along they are. I believe they're gearing up for release this year. I believe this year, maybe next year. But yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of it, I guess it still looks cool, but it's just waiting to see how the game is implemented. Like, if it's going to be a microtransaction, you know, pit of just, that's not even the right word to use, but you know what I mean, just if it's going to be like everything is, you got to buy this, you got to buy that, and you can't go there until you buy this, and you have to upgrade your weapons to buy this and buy. If it's going to be like that, then forget it. I'm not interested. It's like, nah, allow that. But that's the impression that I'm getting, to be honest, with EA right now. You know, that they're just, and even like Activision and Ubisoft to an extent as well. Like, I'm playing Far Cry 5 as well, and I like the game. You know, so at core, it's a good game, but you know, there's parts of it that just feel like they're drawn out longer than they need to be, and I guess it's because they want you to buy certain things. Same with Origins. If you play Assassin's Creed Origins, it was a good game, it really was, but it was so overstretched out, you know, with between the levels and stuff, and it just felt like it just doesn't need to be that way. And I get that, of course, as a business, you need to make money. I'm not trying to begrudge anybody from making as much money as they can. Make all the millions and billions you can. I have no problem with that, but it does feel to me that it's coming at the expense of good core game design, and that's where it's like, I'm not too sure about this. Like, if you can do it and still have a great game, like a fundamentally great game that isn't plagued, and I use the word plagued in terms of where the microtransactions are actually ruining the game, then yeah, there's an issue, you know. And I'd rather, I guess I know I'm talking more from an idealistic point of view, and more as a consumer and as a creative. You know, I'd rather something that concentrates fully on the creative aspects of making something that is mind blowing, that is amazing, that, you know, that's just a fundamentally great game, and then figure out from there, okay, well, can we monetize this bit, or can we monetize that bit? You know, figure it out afterwards. But it feels to me like what's happening now is that it's what can we monetize, and then build the game around that. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm being paranoid. Maybe that's not the case. I don't know. But that's how it feels to me in some of these games, that there's more of a focus on trying to monetize as much as possible, and then building a game around that to fit in what you can charge people for, you know. And it's not something I'm particularly fond of, to be honest. So yeah, that's mini rant number 2. I mean, I would say that overall, I'm not against the idea of microtransactions. I'm really not. Like, in terms of like them being in existence, I don't I don't buy many of them, but I don't, strictly speaking, have a problem with the general idea of it. I just feel like, one, I personally feel they're way too expensive, and two, I just don't like when they seemingly come at the expense of good game design. You know, so yeah. It's like, if you look at Red Dead Redemption 2 that just came out, I thought that was a really good game. And they have the online bit, which they monetize in various ways, which I haven't really done too much with. But the game itself, the single-player campaign itself, is just a great game. It's not perfect, sure, and there's bits, blah, blah, blah. You know, nothing's ever perfect. But, you know, bottom line is that it's a great, good, you know, fulfilling experience when you play for the game. I didn't feel like there's missing bits. I didn't feel like, you know, they overstretched bits that didn't need to be overstretched. I didn't feel like they cut short bits that they could have been longer. It felt like the game needed to be what it was, and it did what it did. Within that game, it told a story it was trying to tell, and the gameplay it was trying to tell, and it did all it needed to do within the play of the game. and then the online bit is where they've thrown up monetization stuff, and that became that's its own thing separately. So I have no problem with Red Dead Redemption 2. You know, I thought it was a good example of how you can make a game and then maybe monetize something else around it. Whereas when I played Origins, Assassin's Creed Origins, and how I feel about, you know, Far Cry 5 is that they're good games that they feel like they're good games at their core, but it also feels like, you know, they're deliberately stretching out the levels so that it encourages you maybe to spend a bit of money on this. Which again, I understand why they do that from a business point of view. I just don't like it from a consumer point of view. So yeah, mini rant extended.